Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, on Parenting today, we have family coach and marriage counselor Bisi Adewale, who's an accountant by training and called to revive and repair broken relationships and marriages. We're talking today about intentional parenting. It's great to have you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me again.
Yep, it was quite an interesting discussion last week, and
Yes.
we had some very wonderful feedback about that one, and we're looking forward to a wonderful one today, intentional parenting. Now, that's something many people talk about, but, you know, people have different takes on it. What's your take? What do you mean by intentional parenting?
When we say to be intentional about something, is very simple. It means you are deliberate about it.
Okay.
You have a plan. You are conscious of what you are doing or what you want to do, or the result you want to, what you want to achieve out of it. We have two kinds of parenting. We have the one we call quick fix. Some people call it kick and follow. Parenting. Then the second one is intentional parenting. Majority of parents you see around, they are quick fix or kick and follow parenting.
Okay.
They base their parenting life, or how do I call it, parenting style on correction, not on instruction.
Okay, so it's more or less like it's reactive rather than proactive.
It's reactive rather than proactive.
Yeah.
It's like you didn't teach a child, you didn't teach a student in school. You will only come for exam or to examine the child and everything like that. But the real thing is, if you want to be intentional, there should be a plan. There should be a culture. There should be a value, thing you want to inculcate into that child. And you are going to prepare for it, plan for it. You have a purpose in mind. You have a destination in mind. You have a vision for every child. Then you are able to follow it up.
All right, so there's something which is quite instructive from what you said. Being, you know, those two ways, being reactive or being proactive, that means that you don't wait for them to make a mistake before you correct.
Yes.
You already see what could go wrong. In what ways can parents be proactive when it comes to intentional parenting? You know, foreseeing those things that will happen or could happen and ensuring that they are nipped in the bud.
In fact, it is not about what will happen, what could happen, or what must not happen. It's about you sitting down and say, okay, this is what I want this child to become. The competence I want to put into that child, the character I want to develop, the composure I want to see in that child, the compassion I want. There's something they call CC of intentional parenting. Okay. So that compassion, that composure, that character, that convention, then that all those things you want to develop in that child, you package them together. Then you intentionally map out a strategy, a plan. Then you begin to train that child.
Practically, how come? Because look, the most parents know is how they were brought up. They were brought up in a way that was toxic. They kind of learn to transfer, you know, or maybe you pick from what you see in movies and all of that. How can you practically, you know, say, teach a child, okay, let's say composure. You talk about, let's look for practical examples. How do you teach a child composure?
Shockingly, the most important aspect of intentional parenting is parental teaching or parental training of that parent, learning what to do, because you can't teach, you can't transfer what is not in you. Okay, you want to form a character. You don't want your child to steal. You don't want your child to be bad and everything like that. But you don't know how to go about it.
Exactly.
You don't even know the definition of pride, and you want your child to be humble. So the first thing is you need to learn. You need to read books. You need to attend training. You need to groom. I want to make this one clear. Parenting work is not by intuition. It's supposed to be by learning. Every parent should be committed to. If you ask any parent, listen to me now, how many books have you ever read concerning parenting? You'll be so shocked. So the mistake we are now making is we may be making the mistake, committing the error of our parents. Because you will just be a copycat. The same way your mom used to shout, you will not kill me, I didn't kill my parent, I didn't kill my mother, I didn't kill my... That's why you will see the generation of women, they normally shout on their children. The generation to come will still shout unless somebody sit down to learn the better way to do. So to be proactive...
What is the better way? Now, as opposed to shouting, because Yes, we were raised, a lot of us were raised with parents who would shout.
Who shouts.
So what is the better way as opposed to shouting?
Instruction. You instruct a child. When you instruct a child, you know, the first thing we need to notice is, if you are in school, in primary school, they will not give the job of a primary 1 to primary 2, primary 3 to primary 4. But in parenting, we don't know the difference between toddler and teenagers. We feel a toddler should be able to behave like a teenager, and at times the same thing we are doing to a toddler we want to do to teenagers. Because there's no plan, there's no curriculum for it, there's no learning about it, there's no plan for it, we didn't budget for it, there's no purpose and vision. So that if you want the best for your children, the first thing you need to do is know the better thing you want to do, know the place you want them to be, know the place you are taking them to. Then you sit down, you learn this thing. Then consciously you begin to inculcate it in this child, and in that particular, you know, I didn't say children, I said a child. You begin to inculcate it in that child, because you don't parent in what we call mass production, whereby we have about 5, 6, 7 sets of parenting children. Number one, we have the one we call the infants. Okay. We have the toddlers. Okay. We have the preschoolers. We have grade schoolers. We have preteen. We have teens. Teens are still divided into 2 or 3 segments. Then we have adult children. Then we have married children. All these children are different from each other. But an average parent will just say, these are my children. And you begin to teach them the same way. You begin to act to them the same way. If you are doing that, you are not intentional. So a child must be raised according to his gender or agenda. A child must be raised according to the age of that child. A child must be raised according to the personality of that child. Some children are quiet. They won't talk. Some children are outspoken. You need to know that. And by the time you understand these children, then there are some things you won't teach a child. For example, I have a child who is a very quiet one. Okay. I won't teach that kind of child meekness, because he's already meek.
All right.
My second born is very bold. I won't teach that child boldness again. I will be teaching meekness. Thank you. So that is all about intentional parenting.
I like it. I like it. That was a home run with your final statement. And I hope you're able to learn something from that. Each child, there's no one size fits all. You have to tailor exclusively parenting for his child. Thank you very much,
Thank you very much.
It was always great having you on the show. All right, so let's see now how intentional are we in the kitchen with what we're getting ready. You don't know that chinchin is to swear.